Hey guys, new camera angle. I thought I'd mix it up a little bit. Like it better? No? Terrible? Let me know in the comments. Yeah. Anyhow, I was going to spend today relaxing and packing for my trip this weekend. I shall be going up to WonderCon in Anaheim, which is a miniature Comic-Con. Never been to it before, don't really know what to expect, but fingers crossed it'll be pretty cool. I'll probably wear my Morgan cosplay there as well, and hopefully it'll be a more receptive crowd than the army of fangirls that play this live. Anyhow, that was my plan for tonight, but then I got into a conversation with one of you guys on the Games Are for Fight Facebook page, which, yes, I check and respond to regularly, about the Wii U, and is it doomed? Is it in its last breath of life? Is it headed down the great hill of life into a burning... That slamming noise, by the way, is the dog drinking out of the toilet. Sorry about that. Not my dog. Anyway, we were talking about the Wii U. And the topic was on my mind because of that whole Reddit post featured here, or here, or here, I don't know, which states that at this point in the Wii U's lifespan, all of 2 years, not even really 2 years because it didn't come out until almost the end of 2012, the Wii U has only sold less than 6 million units. In fact, the Wii U has sold less in these 2 years than the Dreamcast, the ill-fated Dreamcast that everybody knows is the system that failed, did at its 2-year mark. That's right, the Wii U has sold less than the Dreamcast. Now you could get into the whys and hows, and was it really a bad system, or was it just ill-fated, or was it bad timing, or whatever. But the point is, the Wii U is definitely in decline. And there's a lot of reasons behind that. A lot of pontificating has gone into this subject. I mean, one of the biggest things is that there's no core games for it. I mean, there's like two core games for it. And core being, you know, the original Nintendo IP like Mario and Donkey Kong and Zelda. There's very few core games. Most of what's on the Wii U is shovelware, aka really badly made games, and ports of games that are already on other systems, other better graphics, more sensible control systems. And that's just the truth. I mean, the Gamepad is, of course, the ringer for the Wii U that makes it such a difficult thing for a lot of companies to wrap around, because suddenly not only do you have a controller, you also have this screen that you have to figure out some way of incorporating the game, and not just that, but the Gamepad is supposed to be, you know, there's the Gamepad only mode where if someone else is using the TV, you can just switch over to the Gamepad. Unfortunately, that's kind of sucky for a lot of games because it means that the game has to be simple enough that you can reduce it to just the Gamepad. I mean, I think it still interacts with the Wii U, just you don't see it on the TV screen. Nonetheless, that's a weird kind of liability to put on the games that they're porting. And then, of course, it doesn't help that in addition to the lack of core games and the awkward interaction of the Gamepad, the Wii U, like the Wii, but even more so, has really been touted as, you know, kid-friendly, old people-friendly, not old people, but older people-friendly, you know, non-target demographic friendly, girl-friendly, whatever that means. And unfortunately, that kind of leaves a bad taste in the mouth of some gamers because, let's be honest, I'm going to want different stuff from a game than a little 5-year-old is, probably, you know, and that's not to say that games for kids can't be good. But, you know, I like my Grand Theft Auto, I like my Assassin's Creed, I like my M-rated games just as much as the next 13-year-old, and it doesn't bode well to only have games for small children and older people who are apparently on the same level in the gamer sphere. I don't know. But anyway, as I was saying, bunch of reasons why the Wii U is declining in sales and why most people that I know already have one and never use it or never wanted one in the first place. But that's not what this video is about. This video is my top 5 tips that may save the Wii U from utter destruction. I mean, maybe it's a little too late, but you never know. Anyway, starting with number 5, don't force mechanics into games that don't need them just to incorporate the gamepad. You know, I already touched on this, but how many games are actually less usable on the Wii U than they are on the PS4 or whatever because the companies were required to fit some weird functionality in with this separate screen that you have to keep between you and the TV, and just too many things to look at, You know, the concept of having a screen that you have to look at in your lap and then the screen on the TV brings me back to the days of Crystal Chronicles, which, if you're too young to remember, was this really fun game that came out on GameCube. It was a offshoot of the Final Fantasy series, and you could play it by yourself with a little Moogle carrying your little chalice around with you, because the whole point of Crystal Chronicles is that there's this miasma everywhere and you can't walk into the miasma or you get hurt, blah blah blah. And if you play by yourself, this little Moogle carries it around with you. But if you play with your friends, someone has to carry the chalice, and more importantly, everybody that wants to play when you played multiplayer had to have a Game Boy Advance and a link cable. So if you had 4 people playing, that meant the GameCube and 4 Game Boy Advances and 4 link cables, and it was just kind of a pain in the butt. And even if you had all that stuff, it was still very awkward having to look from your screen on here to the screen on here to the screen on there. And even in Crystal Chronicles, if you were looking at the screen down here, your character would go into this auto mode and just sort of follow along, but they still get hit, you know, and you still have to jump back and forth like, oh, I'm getting hurt, I gotta save the guy, or whatever. And then you have that awkwardness with the Wii U. Even on single player games, you still have games where, you know, you're like looking down here and it's like, oh, I'm getting tired, like, I don't know, to me that's not fun. So, Wii U, future games, don't force game developers to put some stupid mechanic on the gamepad unless it actually helps the game, you know? Don't force them to put a map on there or whatever and then not let you do the same function on the screen if you want to. Number 4, in the same vein, the gamepad isn't necessarily a bad thing to have in games. However, I think a lot of game developers are looking at the gamepad as like, oh God, I gotta come up with something for it, instead of looking at it as an opportunity to come up with something really cool. I mean, think about it. You don't really have, I know they've been pushing like, oh, sign up for this little miniature app on your iPad that you can play while you're playing this other game. But with the games, with the gamepad and with the Wii U, from the ground up, you can make your game do something with the gamepad that no other game does. You know, an idea I had a long time ago that I still think could easily be incorporated into the Wii U is some sort of Dungeons and Dragons setup, not so much like Baldur's Gate where everything's already pre-planned, but something where you actually have one dungeon master who is a player and then all the other players. The dungeon master, in case you're not familiar with tabletop games like Dungeons and Dragons, White Wolf, aka Vampire the Masquerade, and Rifts, and all these other ones, there's even a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle one I used to play, is the person in charge of making the whole campaign. Now you can put as much detail into it as you want. You can get pre-made ones if you're not really that interested. If you're a DM like I am, you get super focused making entire worlds and NPCs for people to talk to and blah blah blah, and you get all pissed when the player completely avoids what you spent all those hours late into the night making. So that I digress. Picture something like that put on the Wii U. You have your gamepad, you have your specs, you have your NPCs, your monsters, your dice roller if you for some reason don't like actual dice, all this cool stuff at your fingertips that none of the players can see. And you can interact between your gamepad and what's on the screen. Say for instance that the players are putting together a map of the dungeon as they explore it. You yourself, as the dungeon master, could have the entire map laid out in front of you on the gamepad, and then slowly, as players explore, you could delete some of the fog of war so they slowly, on the TV screen, see a map of where they are. You could also, instead of having minis like you have on an actual board, have little tokens on the screen for your characters so that when they fight, you get little, 1 damage or tripped or whatever. Incorporate the tabletop game with the TV screen in a beautiful marriage of technology and function instead of a horrendous car crash of mismatched mechanics. Tip number 3. I know this video is ending up longer than I wanted it to. Sorry, I'm a talker. Get back in touch with your roots, Nintendo. I know there's a lot of naysayers out there who say all Zelda games are the same and you never change anything, but as you can tell, some of us are loyal fans and we miss our favorite characters. Also, just because games share the names of locations and maybe the items and maybe some of the mechanics doesn't mean they have to be the same game. I mean, as a diehard Zelda fan, even I will admit that some of the entries to the series are not really that great. Yet when I played Link Between Worlds, I was blown away. That game put my faith back into the Zelda series, both playing on my nostalgia for Link to the Past and adding in all sorts of new mechanics that made it fun again as if I was playing for the first time, which technically I was. So why not do the same thing for the Wii U? Why not make a new Zelda game that incorporates the best parts of every entry in the series and try something new so that we get a fresh perspective, some new entry to the storyline? Or for the Donkey Kong fans, I know we got Donkey Kong Tropical Thunder or whatever it's called, but why stop there? Make a new one. You could also make a new Mario that's more than just a rehash of the side-scroller plus cat paws. Basically, endpoint, don't forget your roots. Don't be so worried about driving series into the ground that you completely leave everything behind and make new shovelware IP, because we don't want that crap. Number 2, one more away from the end. As I mentioned, the Wii U has sort of from the beginning been marketed towards the other demographics of gamers out there. Not so much the, 13 to 27-year-old male that likes Call of Duty and drinks lots of beer, but the kids, the older people, and the girls who don't play games apparently. That's pretty much it. Unfortunately, as you can probably tell, that ship has sailed. In my opinion, everyone that would have gotten a Wii U for that reason already got one. If you haven't hooked them in at this point, you're probably not going to. The biggest possible market left for the Wii U are gamers like me, gamers who've held off on getting a Wii U because there's not really any games we want, because we don't like the idea of the Gamepad, because there's bigger, shinier toys that are in about the same price point, maybe a little bit more, but you get a lot for that extra couple hundred. We might be older and we might not be quite as loyal to Nintendo as we once were, but we're still here. Some of us even have money. So why don't you cull out some of the, Wii U is so good for children and old people marketing and give us something to play. I promise you, if there's a good game out there, I will get a Wii U, and I will play the crap out of that game. Hint, Twilight Princess 2. And finally, number 1, a small but rather important bit of advice that would save the Wii U. You have one flagship property left, Nintendo, that could be the answer to all your problems. It's a great franchise, and best yet, it combines all our favorite characters from all the other great franchises. I am, of course, speaking about Super Smash Bros. Oh, so many fond memories of poning noobs and also being pwned. And to this day, I still can't walk by a set of console without wanting to grab a controller and fry my enemies with my favorite electric rat. The Super Smash series taps into a part of a gamer's psyche that few other series can. I mean, it's fun, it's multiplayer, it's competitive, but it's not too serious, unless of course you're in a tournament with money riding on you and you're actually cosplaying as the character you're playing. But I digress. And if nothing else, having a new Smash Bros. Ensures that you'll have a Wii U present in any gaming tournaments, and nothing's a bigger advertisement than a room full of people having fun, chanting for each other, and yelling in unison, "Dude, did that really just happen?" So, that's pretty much it. Ditch the young kids and older people advertisement, return to your roots, give us some good games, stop forcing crappy mechanics into the gamepad, use the gamepad for something that's actually good for, and give us a new Smash. That's my advice if you want to save the Wii U from a swift decline to obscurity. So, thanks for watching. I did not have a lot of time to research this video before I filmed it, so sorry if some of my facts were wrong. Feel free to let me know in the comments if I was wrong, and also feel free to tell me if you have a Wii U and you love it, or if you never got one, why you didn't get one. Tell me if you've got one of the other new consoles, or if you're resenting the new consoles and refuse to get one. I myself still don't have any of the new generation consoles because they're hella expensive and I'm hella poor, but I did pre-order ESO for PS4, so I better get one soon since it comes out in June. And again, I will be at WonderCon this weekend in Anaheim, so if you see me, come say hello. And if you like this kind of video and would like to see me do some more in the future, then tell me with a like. And if you're just brand new to the channel somehow, go ahead and click subscribe and get lots of gaming content that's usually not this corny. I'm just a little off my game today. Yeah. Alright, that's it. Thanks for watching and bye!